right, all. I will give just a few minutes for people to pop on. We are talking about media and press for your business. How exciting is that? It's very exciting, right? Everybody say it's very exciting. All right, just a few more minutes. Well, seconds. We're not going to wait minutes. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Nikki Woods, for those of you who do not know. And today we're going to be talking about how to get more press for your business. So just a little bit about me. I've been in media for more than 20 years, both in television and in radio. Radio for the majority of my career. Television was more the beginning, but I still do, some television now. Online, but also I've written for magazines. I've written for newspapers. I used to have an article in the Chicago Defender when I was in Chicago. So I'm really very familiar with pitches and the media and some things that can definitely up your chances of getting more media for your business. And so I just want to go through 5 tips really quickly so that can help. It takes a lot of time, but I think that if people devote themselves to it, it's something that can absolutely be done. And I do a 2-day workshop on how to get more media. So there's a lot of information, but I'm going to give you 5 tips that you can start working on today. And for, most of us, we know that the more media you get, the more clients, the more money, the more exposure. It's just really good for your business. And so 5 quick tips. So the first tip is to make sure that you are targeting publications, outlets, hey darling, outlets, anything that is relevant to your business, to your book, to your brand. So every outlet is not for everyone. I think that there are products and services absolutely that can be pitched to different media outlets that may have different audiences, but you have to have a firm grasp on who you are, first of all, but then also who the audience is. So like the Tom Joyner morning show is definitely different than the Dr. Phil audience, is definitely different than the Dr. Oz audience. And even, though Tom Joyner and Steve Harvey may have some cross sections, we're 2 totally different shows. So when you start to look at publications, you want to absolutely be aware of who you're talking to, who the target audience is, and how to relate to them. And you want to make sure that when you're pitching a producer like myself, that you come across that you know exactly who we are and what our audience needs. So that's the first thing. And one of the things that you can do, I'm going to give you some action items that you can work on. Hey, Demond, I'm sorry. An action item that you can start working on is to look at 3 to 5 publications that you know are relevant. So you've kind of done some research, but you know they're relevant, whether it's magazines, websites, TV segments, and focus on reaching out to just those publications for now. Have some success there, and then start to tweak your pitch so that you make kind of cross section. One of the things that I say all the time is I know that a lot of PR is just what I call grunt work. So there's a lot of repetitive, you have to send out the email, then you follow up, and then you follow up again. And so it gets kind of tiresome. But one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to do a blanket press release and send it to every single outlet. You want to make sure that you personalize each press release. And so that's why I say start out small for now. 3 to 5 publications. Start there, build upon that, get some success, and then you will really be rolling. The second thing is you want to make sure that you create a story and not an advertisement. And what's the difference? An ad is an ad. So I tell everybody all the time, the first thing that I want people to know about me when I'm producing and I'm booking people is it is not my job. It is not the job of the radio show or the television show or the newspaper. It is not our job to sell your book. It is not our job to sell your service. It is not our job to get you clients. It is not our job. Our job is to provide value to our audience. And so we are very focused on making sure that your interview does not sound like a commercial. And that's what you should be focused on as well. So you have a book, say you have a book about how to get out of debt, right? Obviously, there is value in that book that is going to be really relevant to most audiences. So focus on giving that value from the book. Focus on giving them 3 solid tips on how they can get out of debt in 2017. I guarantee you, if you focus on giving them the value, creating the story, and as opposed to sounding like a commercial, you are going to sell your book. That's going to be a done deal. And people are going to come to you wanting more because you provided them with value right off the bat. So focus on creating the story, providing the value, and not sounding like an advertisement. And so for the action item for this is to really hone in on what your story is, right? We all have a story. We all have a reason why we show up the way that we show up. We have a reason why we do the things that we do. Hone that story. The story, along with the value, is what really will connect people to you. If you're in the entrepreneurial world or in the coaching world, a lot of times we say you need to find your tribe, and the only way you can find your tribe is by authentically showing up as who you are. That is the same in the media too. You want to authentically show up as who you are so that people can say, yeah, they can raise their hand and say, yeah, this is the person that I need. This is the information. This is the book. This is the business. Right? So hone in on your story. That is your action item so that when you send the press release, you can say, you know, I was $75,000 in debt and I was able to pay it off in 2 years and now I own my house, you know, clear. Whatever the story may be, that will definitely, you know, say to a producer, oh, well, this person really knows what they're talking about. And this could provide some value to my audience. All right? So that is for the story, and that is your action item. The third thing is you want to make sure that you are making nice with the producers and the editors and the writers and the reporters. You really want to start to build those relationships up before you actually need them, right? So when I was producing the Tom Joyner Morning Show, I could get 400 pitches a day, easy. I'm not opening up 400 pitches. The ones that I opened up, and we're not going to go in this to, you know, on this session, but the ones that I opened up, one, their headline was amazing. It made me just want to open it up. Or two, I already knew who they were. So they had already reached out. They had already started developing relationships. And it is so easy to do now with social media. I mean, I would have people that would tweet me, they would retweet me. And, you know, that strokes the ego. So you're like, oh, who is this? Okay, cool. And so when they would actually send you a pitch, you would know who they are. So you would open it just because you knew who they were. So you want to start building the relationships with the producers, with the reporters, with the writers before you actually need to pitch. Okay. And so it's like, you know, as they say, it's all about relationships. And then don't stop there. Once you have successfully pitched, you had your interview, make sure that you continue to follow up with them. There were people that I would book regularly just because we had that relationship, just because they were so intentional about staying in contact, always sending me pitches, always asking if I needed anything, always just sending me information to use on the show without saying use me. Just say, here's some good information that might help you talk about that story the next day. Those are the kinds of people that you remember, right? And so you want to start developing those relationships now. So your action item is next time you're looking at a magazine that you think that you would be great for, maybe it's Cosmopolitan, look to see who wrote the stories. Start to make a list. Find them on Twitter. Find them on Facebook. Start commenting on their stuff. Start to build the relationship. One thing that I always tell people is a lot easier to become famous at home than it is to become this national superstar, right? So you can always play off that hometown girl made good, or the high school football star who now has their business and is helping all these people. So start local, and you can always like go to, you know, that TV stations and radio stations, we're always having events. We're always doing fundraisers. We're always out in the public. Go start to meet them. Go start to show up. Introduce yourself and start to build that relationship. Okay? So it really is an ego thing. The fourth thing is you really want to be aware of timing. Everything has a time, and there's a time where it may be better for your product or your business or your service than it isn't. And so finances and love, it's really easy to talk about that, so I'll stick with those. So if you're a financial expert, Stop it, Carl. If you're a financial expert, so you know there are times, there's tax season where we're always looking for experts. There's the end of the year where you're trying to get ready for the new year. There's the new year where you're making the New Year's resolutions. There's graduation where you're starting to think about how you're going to pay for college. There's all of these things. Make sure that you're making yourself available during these times that are key for your expertise. And then also, while you're doing that, make sure that you're keeping your eye on the headlines. So if there's a news story, the state of Texas goes bankrupt or whatever it may be, make sure that you're calling. You're like, hey, I can talk about that tomorrow. That's breaking news. And I know you guys are going to talk about it on the show. Do you need an expert to explain? Hopefully the state of Texas will never go bankrupt because that's where I am. But that's just an example. Or, say, for instance, like during political season, there are a lot of topics that are relevant to the presidential race. Like, how is it going to impact the economics? How is it going to do this? What are you going to? And so we always need experts then. But so the two timing situations that you want to be aware of is the calendar, because certain things happen every single year, so that you can stay on top of that. But then also the news, the timely news stories that you may be able to speak to. And so make sure that you're aware of those too. And yeah, so Vera, we don't want the state of Texas to go broke, right? And so I would suggest building a calendar, and just keeping track so that you can start to pitch, ahead of time, and you're ahead of the game instead of behind the 8 ball. So your action item would be to figure out the times of year that your service, your book, your product would be best received. Pick a time that's 4 months ahead of time. And we're not going to talk about this now, but every media outlet has a period. So, magazines, they may be looking for stories to start writing 6 months ahead of time. Whereas radio, it could be the day before. So they each have their kind of lead time when they're looking for stories. So you want to start in plenty of time, 4 months at least, to start pitching your business or your book, whatever the value in your story. Remember, because we're focused on value and story and not the product or the service, but whatever that is, that you have plenty of time. So the 5th thing is do the work for the reporter. Do the work for the producer. It really is the most effective way to get this done, because we are so strapped with just getting the show done, getting it on the air, making sure everybody's okay, fielding calls from Tom Joyner. The last thing I want to do is have to figure out who you are, what you do, and what kind of value. The easier you can make it for a reporter, write the story for them, if it's a newspaper. For a producer, send over sample interview questions if it's for radio or television. Make it as easy as possible for the producer, the writer, the editor to say yes to your pitch. So do as much of the work as possible. If you've done an interview on this particular subject, send that, so that the reporter or the producer knows what you sound like on radio, because you may be the best expert in the world and you may be dull on the radio. I like to know what people sound like ahead of time. So do the work for them. Write the story, send the research. And so as your action item, one of the things that I used to love, especially if you were an expert, was the statistics, so that when we're introducing you or we're talking about something, there goes the doorbell of my dog. I thought we were going to get through this without that happening. So that you can do as much of the work for them as possible, and make it easy. So next time you send a pitch, make sure that, like I said, you're including as much research as possible, statistics, you're doing all that stuff to make it as easy as possible. So just to recap on the 5 things. 1, make sure that you're targeting audiences that are relevant to you and what you do. You're creating the story so that you're making sure that you give intense value, and you're focusing on being a story and not a commercial, right? The other things is that you want to make sure that you are aware of timing, and that you want to make sure that you're getting ahead of that. You want to build your relationships with the reporters and the writers and the editors, and then you want to do as much of the work as possible. You want to get that out of the way. And then one quick bonus before I go. One quick bonus. You can start generating a lot of this press yourself. That is what's so phenomenal. Hey, coworker. That is what's so phenomenal about social media. You can do a lot of this yourself. and it makes you magnetic to the press. And what I mean by that is, like, sometimes when I was looking for an expert, I would go on Twitter and I would put in financial expert, or I would put in money, or I would put in relationships, and I would see who would pop up and who's actually having conversations around the expertise that I was looking for. And so if you're not on Twitter, or you're not on Facebook, or you're not writing articles, or you're not writing blogs already, the press may not know you're there when they need you. And so you need to really start to be active and share your expertise so that people can find you. So you really can start to generate a lot of this press yourself. And like I said, it would make you more magnetic to the media. So when we're looking for you, we don't necessarily know about you yet, we're able to find you. And so I put together a free guide. It's a press release guide, and it's a press release template. So for those of you who are looking to start pitching the media and you want to figure out how to put a press release together so that you will get a yes, I put something that's quick and easy for you. You can go to the website blessmenikki.com, and I will send it to you. It's that simple. So I appreciate you guys. I hope this was helpful. If it was, please share, let other people know, because unfortunately you only get a few opportunities to get the press that you're looking for. So you want to make sure that you do it right. So I'm amazed at all the people that signed on. I'm glad that this was helpful. And I will talk to you next time.